Hello and welcome to Straight Talk. I'm Ayşe Süberker. In a coordinated air and land assault, Turkey's armed forces struck several targets across northern Iraq against the PKK terror group. The mission, called Operation Claw Lock, hit suspected hideouts and ammunition depots in the rugged terrain along the Turkish-Iraqi border. Turkiye's Defense Minister Hulusi Akar said the operation was continuing successfully as planned. The ministry said airstrikes targeted the Iraqi regions of Metina, Zap and Outzen with support from commandos and special forces. Akar added that the mission's goal was to prevent terror attacks and to ensure border security. The operation is the latest part of Turkey's decades-long battle against the PKK terror group, which has used parts of Iraq's territory to launch attacks across the border. Since the early 1980s, the PKK has been responsible for more than 40,000 deaths, most of them civilians. And to discuss this latest operation, joining me now from Istanbul is Ahmet Keser. He is an associate professor at Hasan Kalyoncu University. And from Washington, D.C., Rich Outzen. He is a former US diplomat. A warm welcome to you both. Thanks for joining me. Ahmet, let me begin with you. What is the operation looking to achieve?
Ayşe, normally almost in every spring we see similar operations just before the preparations of the terrorist organization, because starting from the springtime, the terrorist groups increase their presence at the border areas, and they try to implement cross-border activities.
Yes.
And they create some threats in several issues. First of all, they give harm to mine cleaning activities ongoing at the border area. They kidnap children because they have difficulties in recruiting new members in the last months.
Yes.
And also they prevent the freedom of movement by using handmade mines on the roads. So that's why in the spring, by attacking the organizations in their camps, to stop their summer activities and to provide a safe and secure environment, I think.
So, Rich, Operation Claw Lock comes on the heels of Claw Tiger and Claw Eagle, which were launched in northern Iraq in 2020. We've seen similar operations, as Ahmet just mentioned, against the PKK terror organization. What makes this latest action different from the previous ones?
Well, the Turkish armed forces, and first of all, let me just say it's great to be with you and another distinguished guest, our partner here. I think every time the Turkish armed forces conducts one of these operations, it's getting its tactics, techniques, and procedures a little bit better honed for the new way of warfare. And by that, I mean that it's not just drones, but Turkey's combination of drones, electronic warfare, precision strike, communications handoff, and the coordination of all of these elements, ground, air, and in the case of Pençe even naval forces. There's naval forces to deal with explosive devices and the Sualtı takımları, the underwater commandos. So a coordination of all three forces with high technology communications and coordination enabled by drones and precision strike. It really is a new way of warfare. Mm-hmm. And if you compare this to, say, 20 years ago, when the Turkish armed forces conducted massive operations into northern Iraq to go after the PKK with tens of thousands of people and much bigger political baggage and much bigger risk to civilian life, these are very precise, very refined operations. It's really 21st century warfare. So I think what makes this one different is that all of the lessons learned from the 2020 fighting in the Pençe series, but also in Libya and Syria and so forth, are being applied to make sure that it's more agile, more precise, more lethal.
So Turkey's Defense Minister Hulusi Akar gave details about what the operation was doing and where it was taking place. Let's have a listen, then we'll continue to talk.
We have launched this operation to eliminate terror attacks and to secure our borders. There's an operation plan, and according to this, we are particularly targeting the Metina, Zap and Outzen areas. In these areas, shelters, ammunition depots, headquarters, gathering locations and tunnel networks belonging to the terrorists are being destroyed.
So, Ahmet, Defense Minister Akar has said the operation is continuing as planned. What's the next phase of the operation, you think? Will Turkish soldiers begin taking control of the region?
Normally, it can be expected, especially till the summertime, the area control at the regions, at the camps, actually, because if you just conduct the operation and then come back, the remaining of the terrorists will again refill the places and they will continue to use all the territory. So that's why you have to take under control those areas. Actually, especially the ZAP region and Metina regions, because in the past, between the years 1994 and 2000, I was the commando team commander and commando company commander in those regions, in the northern Iraq operations as well, in Metina and ZAP camps and in the Basyan region. So if you are not able to fill with your men the area, the terrorist organization will fill all those gaps.
So I think I should ask you this question as well. Could you a little bit talk to us about the significance and importance of this ZAP region, especially when it comes to providing a lifeline support to adjacent terror hideouts?
Actually, the ZAP region is just next to the Çayırlı and other border posts of Turkey. And because of the high mountainous areas and the terrain provides heavy protection for the organization. And the mountains consist of some caves which provides protection against the heavy bombs from the airstrikes.
Yes.
So that's why on foot, command and special force operation should be conducted to neutralize the terrorist groups in there. Only single air attack or UAV attacks are not a single solution against themselves.
So, Rich, you have mentioned the changing military tactics and the scale of this operation, but could this operation be expanded so as to cover Kandil and Sinjar?
Well, Sinjar and Kandil are unique problems. From a technical perspective, I think Sinjar is within Turkey's capabilities to launch an operation at, but the political sensitivities to the government of Iraq and to the West, frankly, which matters also in Ankara, are very high. The population of Yazidis and others in that area make it much more high profile. Look, no one can look at the ZAP, Metina, and Avashin region and not see it for what it is, which is a fist shaking at Turkey, right? This is a forward fighting area where the PKK has no legitimate interest in other than launching attacks on Turkey and conducting terrorist activities. But when you get to Sinjar, it's the home of thousands of people with some cultural specific areas. So I would think for political reasons, it would be difficult to do the same sort of operations. I think Turkey can conduct and has conducted precision airstrikes using drones and manned aircraft to take out specific PKK targets in and around Sinjar. I would not expect a ground operation like the one that we're seeing now, or a combined, shall we say, air and ground operation in Sinjar. Now, Kandil's another matter. It is a very, very far way away from the Turkish border, but Turkey's armed forces have proven, again, the ability to track and strike high-profile terror targets there, and even further south of there into the southern parts of Suleymaniye province. So I think those methods are more appropriate, precision strike without an operation that we're seeing in the combined sense now. But it is absolutely critical, as Dr. Keser has said, to seize control of this high ground that can be used for both transit by the PKK and for launching activities or attacks into Turkey. It's critical in the spring and summer to control these. There are other parts of the border where we might see similar operations a little further west, a little further east. I wouldn't expect it in the case of either Sinjar or Kandil.
So, Ahmet, Turkey's defense minister said that the PKK was preparing a large-scale attack and that the Turkish offensive was carried out in coordination with friends and allies. He did not say who this referred to, but could you make a guess here?
For sure, we know so we have some strategic allies who already goes on their support to terrorist organization. I think the dilemma here is the absence of the definition of terrorism, which the countries doesn't have any consensus on that. But actually in academic flora, we have a terrorist organization definition. The organizations seeking to achieve political objectives by using armed attacks or violence against civilian population and government officials. So that's why I think we shouldn't define any terrorist organization, your terrorist organization or my terrorist organization. If they are strategic partners, terrorist organization is a terrorist organization. And
Yes.
I think all the countries should keep that in mind, that Europe's security starts at the eastern borders of Turkey.
Yes.
It means that the security of Berlin, the security of Paris, the security of Rome starts in Hakkari or Şırnak borders. So if we want to prevent the migration, we have to construct a sustainable, livable condition in those regions for the reverse migration of the people as well.
So I was wondering about these friends and allies. So Rich, what do you make of the timing of this operation, which came 2 days after the Prime Minister of Autonomous Region of Northern Iraq, Masoud Barzani, met with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan? Do you think he had been briefed about that?
Absolutely. I think that the real story, or maybe one of the two real stories about Turkey's greater effectiveness in counter PKK operations over the last decade and a half has been coordination with the Kurdistan region of Iraq. And I think that the Erbil and the coordination between Ankara and Erbil has just gone from close to closer to closest over that period of time. And what this means is that there is no chaotic situation. It's coordinated with the Kurdistan regional government, and that gives both a greater international legitimacy to these operations, but there's also practical assistance. I think it's a real strategic accomplishment of Turkiye to have partnered with the Kurdistan regional government, and that has an operational impact during this sort of combined arms sort of preventive operations against the PKK. As regards the U.S., I think this is one where, because of the location, we don't have forces in that area. We do in Iraq recognize PKK as a terrorist operation and as a terrorist organization. So I think that this definitional problem that Dr. Keser referred to is less relevant in Iraq than it is, say, in Syria, where we have parts of that organization the U.S. government considers not to be terrorist, and I take Dr. Keser's point there. But if I could just raise one last thing, the real wild card here is Iran. Because over the last couple of years, we've seen a much greater Iranian influence over the government in Baghdad. And we've seen the PKK collaborating with IRGC and other Iran-aligned militias in Syria and in Iraq. So as Turkey becomes more effective against PKK and preventing their operations in northern Iraq along the border region, the risk of Iran doing more and more mischief to try to support PKK becomes a real consideration for Turkey.
All right, gentlemen. Unfortunately, we are out of time. Thank you very much for joining me on Straight Talk.